I'm going to show you how I changed the wear ring on my 2016 Seadoo Spark. Took me about a half an hour to change it. That's because I have the IBR braking system. If I didn't have the IBR braking system, it probably would have only been about 10 minutes. Here's the steps that I took to do the job. These are the tools you'll need and the parts. Here's the part for the wear ring that I got. It is the replacement plastic one, 267000925. That's it right there. I had a socket set, some extensions. That's a long 13 millimeter, a standard 13 millimeter, and a 10 millimeter. And then we have a 10 millimeter wrench and a 1/2 inch wrench, Loctite, screwdriver, marine grease, little nylon brush, and some tape. So I'm going to start off by removing the IBR bucket. Those are 13 millimeter sockets. That bolt right there, that bolt right there, that has a 1/2 inch nut on the inside. That would be the control arm for the IBR bucket. And on the other side, we got another 13 millimeter right here. Okay, next we will take out the steering cable bolt. It's right there. It's a 10 millimeter on the top, 10 millimeter nut on the bottom. Next, I'll disconnect the siphon tube. Okay, now that we have the steering cable disconnected, we will now remove the IBR bracket. This piece is a hole. There are 3 bolts on the left and 3 bolts on the right. These are the bolts. There's one right there up top, there in the back left, and then tucked in there, that hole is that one. And on the other side, same thing. We've got one up top, right there. There's one tucked into there, which you'll need that 13 millimeter deep socket. And then the one in the back. For the 13 millimeter that's tucked in this hole, I'm going to use the longer extended socket. Same with this one on top that's underneath the control arm. I used the longer. For the one in the very back, I used the shorter 13 millimeter socket. The final bolt is removed on one side. This whole assembly will come off. Be careful because it is in pieces. Set that aside. And then we'll start on the other side. And we get the last bolt on the right IBR bracket. That comes off. Okay, I've got the IBR bucket and the brackets off. I'm now ready to take out the rest of the assembly. Assembly is held together by 3 bolts. There's one right here. One up top right there. In the back. And then one up the side right here. That's 3. You can see the wear ring is right here. And that's what we're trying to get to. Last turns. There she is. Next, I'll pull the wear ring out. It does have a rubber gasket between the wear ring and the runner. So just be careful that we're not gonna hurt that gasket. And Here's the gasket, which I will use the next ring. Okay, I've got my new wear ring and the gasket. When you're looking at the wear ring, the tabs here that are closest to this side will be the side out. This is the side that goes towards the jet ski. You can see a thin rib here, and that's what that O-ring will wrap around. There's grooves inside the O-ring, and they go right on these lines right here, this outer line. Okay, I've got my gasket on, so you know how it's on correctly. That's the shape it'll take once it's on. Okay, you can see that it is an indentation going in, and this will go against the jet ski. The jet ski will be on this side. We will put the assembly back on against this side. These tabs will go to that top bolt that we just removed. Okay, while I have the assembly off, I'm going to take a nylon brush. I'm just going to lightly brush off the spindle on the shaft. I'm not going to do a lot of touching on this shaft. I don't want to shift it around. I don't want to move it. I want to leave it in its wonderful state that it's in. It's looking pretty good. Spindles are clean. I don't see any chips. If you do have your spindle off and it's got some bad chips on it, it might be time for a new shaft. I'm also going to take some marine grease. I'm just going to put a little bit, not too much, but I'll grease up that spindle and just north of that spindle. Okay, now the fun part, putting the assembly back on. Again, my siphon tube is right here, so that's my top. I'm going to fit this tube over here. It's going to fit snug into the pocket there and find the spindle in there. One key point when you're inserting the assembly is that make sure that you catch that spindle very carefully and slowly. The last thing you want to do is shove that shaft back. You gotta feel it nice and slowly. That spindle catches the grooves and this fits right in there. Remember, the tube up top has to fit snug in the cavity. Arm is ready. This is in here now, nice and smooth, and it's ready to be bolted on. The bolts do take Loctite. I'll get some Loctite back on these bolts. Get those. Okay, now I'll put my siphon tube back on. Before that, I'm going to kind of look up this hole here and clean that out. Found some debris in the other ski when I did this. Okay, now I'm ready to put this IBR bracket back on. That's right, and this steering cable will go right nestled in between these bolts. I'll get the first right side on, and then I will put the rest of the assembly on. Will fit right in. But I do need to put Loctite onto these bolts. I'm ready to get this on. I'm going to put this assembly back on for the IBR. I'm going to make sure my steering is beneath the place to screw it in. There's a nice smooth joint there. We're going to slip that, slide that right in. Put Loctite on my bolts. This is the other joint that the steering will slide onto. Got my IBR control at the top above out of the way. watch, look, your steering is beneath jet output. IBR controls above. And I can start screwing in my bolts. I'll put it on until it's tight enough and it can still turn and float. Okay, now we're ready to put the bucket back on. You notice these two free moving knobs right here, which should be able to freely move within this groove once the bucket's on. So first I'm going to, personally I start with the two attachment bolts, and then I will do the arm, the control arm after that. Okay, got my bucket back on, and now it's time to test. Start her up.